this is the way to get to the ground. Now this is great. This has something called a counterbalanced ladder. And so the counterbalanced ladder means that as you walk down to the bottom of the fire escape, there's a ladder sticking out horizontally. If you put some pressure on that ladder, it will start to go down because there's a weight that will be equalized by your weight on the ladder.
Right, they slowly go down. It doesn't go all at once.
Right.
And as you go further out, it goes a little bit further. Right.
And so counterbalanced ladders are what the code and our administrative bulletin currently require.
Presently, yeah.
But as we walk around, you'll see that many of them don't have counterbalanced ladders. They have drop ladders and accordion ladders and all these other things, and we'll go look at them. But this is an excellent type of ladder, and you can see from the end of the counterbalanced ladder, there's a chain. If you follow the chain up, it goes up to a little pulley and down the other side to a big weight. Can you see that at all from here? And the big weight is the counterbalance weight. And the code prescribes how much force it takes, how far away from the fulcrum to operate that counterbalance.
Is there a maximum height?
Is there a maximum height? Yeah, there's both a maximum and a minimum height.
Right. And it's in the handout.
I'll look it up here. Access to fire escapes. Ladder to the ground. It's on page 6, 2.7. A permanent inclined ladder is required between balconies. A live weight of 150 pounds placed one step from the pivot will not start this section. 150 pounds, 1/4 of the way from the pivot will start this thing to swing slowly down. Clearance of not less than 10 feet underneath the fire escape balcony, and no fire escape shall be less than 14 feet above a sidewalk. Roadway or public used as a roadway when any part of the fire escape hangs over the roadway or is within 2 feet. So if that's within 2 feet of the curb, it has to be at least 14 feet up.
I want to point out the top ladder too. That's a straight ladder that goes from the top balcony up over to the roof. And that's primarily for fire department use. That's not for, you know, somebody fleeing a fire. You're supposed to come down, not up. And that's for us. We use these things as a second way to get up. And actually, we like them because we can run up those things. We don't even have to go in the building frequently. You'll see that the standpipes are on there, so that we can either a dry standpipe that we can hook up or a wet standpipe so we can get water to that floor. So actually for us it's a little bit of a convenience. But that it's a gooseneck ladder. It's a straight ladder that goes to the top with a gooseneck over the top so you have something to hold on to when you go over it. But once again, that's for fire department use. That's not for the use of civilians inside the building. They're supposed to come down, and if they have trouble with that bottom one, we can always get a ladder up to that first balcony and get them off. And I know I've done that frequently. That's one that I know that's an easy rescue, and that's something that happens very frequently in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't need to have a ladder going to the roof if the slope of the roof is more than 4 and 12. Right. You don't need it. But if it's less than 4 and 12, you need to have a ladder going up there.
And then once again, because the fire department shouldn't even be up there because there's not much we could do up there if you have a steep peaked roof.
Right. But we're going to walk through this parking lot and cross Otis Street, and then we'll stop and talk about a different kind of fire escape and look more closely at standpipes and some of the other stuff. Okay, this is we're at the corner of Otis and Gough Street, and this is a commercial building, and I think it has an assembly room on the top floor, and an assembly area is a room serving 50 or more people for assembly purposes. There are higher standards of exiting from assembly areas. This is a really interesting fire escape with these curved balconies and access from 2 sides of the building. And once again, we have the elements that we were discussing, the balconies, the access to the fire escape, the stairs connecting them, and then this one to get down to the ground has this accordion ladder. What does the fire department think about accordion ladders?
Well, they got dropped out of the code a while back, a long time ago. Like I say, they're retroactive, that it's not retroactive that you have to bring them up to today's code. I do have a story to tell. When I was out in the Sunset District, they sent us out to check a lot of these ladders. And what they do is, you see a crank on the side of it, you undo a little lever and then you crank it down and they're supposed to fall down. When we did it, probably 50 to 75% of them didn't do it. Out there it's pretty foggy and they had rusted shut. And it's on the owner. The owner is supposed to maintain these ladders, that they work at all times. And actually we have a person here who does some of the maintenance. Do you have anything you want to say about these ladders? Or?
From escape artists.
From escape artists?
Come on up
Yeah.
here. Is there anybody else who's in the fire escape maintenance business here?
And I believe that they're supposed to be checked once a year.
Yeah, that's right. And actually down towards the beach, one of my competitors recommends that they check those twice a year. So I personally have encountered a dozen drop ladders of that design this year that do not go down because they have not been checked annually.
What do you have to do to make them function?
Well, after some brush cleaning, some lubrication, we actually kind of jump up and down on them. And I weigh about 170 pounds, and they don't go down under my weight until we've kind of flexed them slowly apart. So we'll, like you're stretching, we'll stretch them out a little, crank them back up, stretch them a little more, crank them back up, kind of break them free slowly. But after we've lubricated them and ran them up and down a few times, they work like a champ.
What kind of lubrication do you put on?
Well, if it's a real frozen type accordion drop ladder, we'll use a penetrant oil, and then standard service is a silicone lubricant.
With escape artists, you have contracts with people and you go back and regularly service their fire escapes? Is that how you do it?
No written contract. It's all us calling them each year, requesting if they'd like us to do a fire escape certification and maintenance service for their drop ladder. So each year it's quite simple and easy procedure to do. And we appreciate that people take pride and understand that their fire escapes and drop ladders are part of their building's safety system, just like the fire extinguishers and fire alarm systems, sprinkler systems. And as Bill pointed out, the dry standpipe systems are usually located along a fire escape ladderway platform system. And I think that it's good to maintain those structurally as well, because the fire department does use them to approach emergency situations in a building.
This is sort of an interesting issue about who's checking to make sure these things work and are maintained. Now, in San Francisco, for residential buildings containing 3 or more units and apartment buildings and hotels and motels, the Housing Inspection Division of the Department of Building Inspection is required to check every 5 years to do an inspection of the buildings, and the procedures have recently changed to require they actually operate the fire escapes when they do that inspection to make sure that they're working. Have you gone to any of those housing inspections where they require to operate the fire escapes?
Yeah, absolutely. We got the call from a property owner saying they've been cited or requested by a housing inspector to demonstrate their fire escape works. The property owner doesn't necessarily want to climb up there, so they'll hire us, and we will inspect the fire escape, perform maintenance, any minor repairs that are necessary, that I, as the owner of Escape Artists, feel confident that the fire escapes are safe yet for another year.
Right.
And we'll provide a certificate of inspection that just describes what we found and what we did in just very clear language. And so far that's been approved by the Housing Department and Fire Department of San Francisco.